Yeah, I'm a stud broadcaster now.
Yep, we are on that. Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who sign in early, you realize that we do some background chatter perhaps before we do the 8 o'clock official start here, just to let you know who we are, what we're doing. I was just asking Tommy how his weekend was. He said it was a very good one, actually. I guess he likes eating because he talked about more about the restaurant than the couple he shared the time with.
It's a good point.
So, hey, I listen. That's what I'm all about here. Some homework here, folks, just to let you know. There are three ways if you're not watching us live or you are so enthralled you'd like to watch us again. You can look at us through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. Please remember, if you want to leave a comment, you have to be signed in, and through YouTube directly or through the Google account. We really, really do encourage you to provide any questions or comments. For those who are new to us, what's the theme? Well, Tommy is I'm still not sure if I'm getting the wording sequence correctly. He's a coach in confident public speaking. He may clarify that for me at some point. But the point is that for those who want to speak well, confidently, to draw an audience, to draw business, you have to be a public speaker. And somehow, and being the introvert that I am, shy, I think it's a genetically encoded program. Either you were born to be confident up there on the stage, craving for the attention, speaking publicly. I'm good sitting in the back of the room playing at this point with my email on my smartphones. I'm half listening to the conversation. He says differently. So I'm trying to figure this out, if it's for real or not. So what I do, I'm asking for clarification. And this one I particularly like. This happened because the theme is what's appropriate or what's better, or is it traditional? The concept of a lady who told me in another meeting that she's giving a presentation for a TV program. And she's rehearsing it. And I said, well, record yourself. Go on Zoom, do a self-record, sit back, watch yourself. And she says, no, the people who are managing this program said, look in the mirror and talk. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. Certainly, it's been protocol. But when I think about talking in the mirror, several things come into my head. I have to first focus in the mirror. And if I have to remember my speech, if I'm not, and the reason they're doing it is because they said she needs more facial expression in her delivery style. So she's to practice. So my thing is, well, if I'm talking, I have to, doing the mirror routine, I have to first look in the mirror. Then I have to remember to raise my eyebrow, not pick my nose. Then if I get confused, well, hey, that's the way it is. So then if I get confused, I got to start all over again. Whereas if I do a recording, I can work my way through maybe a 5-minute segment, if that long, and then sit back and watch myself. And I can self-critique my style, my energy, my facial expression. So I'm going to ask Tommy if there's one way better than the other. Is it more an issue of tradition versus current of value?
Wow. And thanks for spreading out 7 minutes of the show already, Joe.
I'll try to make it easy for you, Tommy. If you talk
I can go
too
back
long,
to sleep.
If you talk too long, it gets away from us.
It's great. First and foremost, you said, public speaking and people craving attention, that some people want to crave attention. But I want to put it out there to people. It can be also very handy for people who are craving more sales or craving more revenue. It comes in handy for that as well. So you were talking today about different ways to practice. Is that where we're going? Practice your presentations.
Well, that's the technique of the tradition is use the mirror. But is that outdated now that we have Zoom to record and you can not have so much pressure in the delivery? Or does it matter one way or the other?
No, it's a great question. And the way I'll take it is this way. I'm a big believer in facial expressions. I think they're huge. I think they play even bigger now on Zoom than they ever did live, even though they were powerful live. And facial expressions are a big part of my teaching. The nonverbal skills, people can see in the expression on your face. Do you care? Are you having fun? Are you having a good time? Remember, most people watching you are judging you before you even speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really by the way you walk, the way you look. Are you excited? Are you thrilled? Do you look like you're actually glad to be there? And facial expressions tell people a lot about that. So I would suggest this because it's not old school. If you're going to be working on your facial expressions, I would use the mirror. Now, what I mean by that is practice in the mirror just your facial expressions. Start making silly faces, open up your eyes, open up your mouth,
Okay.
right? Get your face, surround your face. This is huge. It tells a story. Use it to your best advantage is what I tell everybody. Let people know. And one of the best ways is to smile. It's a great facial expression, a smile. When you smile, people smile. So make people smile. That being said, I truly believe you should work on your facial expressions in the mirror, then put those facial expressions into your presentation, then record your presentation and watch back see, in today's world, we got the opportunity to watch back our presentation by video, and there's no reason you wouldn't want to do that. And there's a few reasons for that. I want to give you a couple. A, you can see how your facial expressions come across to an audience, but B, you actually start to get a little bit more comfortable seeing yourself presenting and getting a little more comfortable with it when you see it. Because in our mind, we think we're the worst. It's awful. It's scary. It's no good. And then you watch your best self back and you go, well, that wasn't that bad. I did okay. So, yeah, I would practice my facial expressions in the mirror, put them into my presentation, then do my presentation and record it, then watch the recording. How's that for a process?
Oh, I tell you, you are the politician. That was a great melding the two things together in a seamless manner and coming out smelling not so badly. That's pretty
not bad
good,
for a Monday morning. Not bad.
I tell you.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, two things come to mind that you talk about in a public setting, physical encounter, how you walk on stage. But clearly, in a Zoom setting, you're not walking on stage. You're already plastered in place.
Yeah.
So I've heard some place that you really need to almost over animate in a Zoom setting to make up for the other nuances that are missed, perhaps. Because sometimes here's Johnny, and he comes out. For those who are old enough to remember Johnny Carson, perhaps he comes out in his costume from behind the curtains, and the whole style of walking. Well, you don't get that in a Zoom setting, so I guess you have to make up for that in terms of the facial expressions. Also,
facial expressions, audience participation, which people aren't even realizing they can still use. One of the tips I always say is that one of my favorite things about Zoom is most of the time you can see people's names. So instead of just sitting there and somebody has a name tag and you can't see their name tag, on Zoom you can say, and what do you think of that, Joe Wesley? And actually call somebody out by name, and they're like, whoa, what happened? So, there's audience participation, there's facial expressions, but, vocal variety, the tone of your voice, the inflection of your voice is very, very powerful. Using your voice is a great tool on Zoom. Facial expressions, big on Zoom. So that's really what it comes down to. It's not that much, except that on Zoom, be animated. Be a little bigger than life is what I like to look at it as. Be bigger than life.
I hear that.
If you're sitting around the breakfast table with a cup of coffee and some toast with your wife, chances are you're not that animated, or with your husband, you're not that animated. But when you step on here, bring it up a notch. You don't want to be zany. I guess that's the best way to explain it. You don't want to be zany, but yet you want to be bigger than life. You want to stand out. This is your chance.
Well, you say those phrases, you don't want to be zany, but you want to be bigger in life. For us neophytes at this, what's that distinction? How does one draw a line? My wife asked me when I first began doing Zoom rehearsals, or actually YouTube presentations, why are you talking in such an animated manner? Why are you being so silly about this?
Yeah.
And I think I'm being, pizzazz and what it's all about. So is there a magic formula for that to make that determination?
You'll recognize the difference between zany. Think about, commercials every now and then. Back in our day, we had Crazy Eddie. Crazy Eddie, he's insane. And screaming and yelling, over the top.
But he made a lot of money that way, though.
Yeah, he did. Exactly. But think about what you're saying. That's a great segue for me, and I thank you for throwing that out there. What is your brand? You know, discover what your brand is, you know, and all I'm saying is discover who you are and just come into a Zoom call or any live presentation a little bigger than life. You are the focal point of everybody's vision, what they're looking at, what they're waiting to hear. So you need to be a little bigger than life. I like to say, you know, you need to become a walking, talking cartoon character, yet pick that cartoon character that fits you. All right. If it's Fred Flintstone, be Fred Flintstone, right? If it's SpongeBob, be SpongeBob. But understand what I'm saying. You have to create yourself a character who can deliver the message either on Zoom or live. But create that character, which what makes it easier. If you say you have you talk about being an introvert. Well, if you're an introvert, you got to bring yourself and start doing extrovert things. And one of the best things you can do is create this character who's nothing like you, who can step on stage. Really, because all it is our imagination, right? We make believe. Fake it till you make it.
I hear that when you say nothing like me, and I have to ask my wife for advice like that because oftentimes she says, I don't know you anymore. So I'll have to ask her for advice on my different...
Next week we'll do a therapy session, but not this week. This isn't Dr. Phil.
Fair enough. Now, you talked about another factor of presentation, speaking. You mentioned the concept of your voice, how to use it, amplitude, that type of thing, cadence, I guess. And certainly, if I'm talking in a mirror, I'm trying to memorize my line. I'm trying to remember the facial expression. That to me reflects more the concept of a Zoom watch, where I can focus also on that part of me too. I'm trying to minimize what I'm doing, juggling at one time. And I hear the issue of do the practice the facial expression, then read your lines. But for me, I'm already on two things I'm concentrating on. Now, if I'm going to modulate my voice and pitch and cadence, that's the third thing I have to think on. And I'm still trying to memorize my lines. So I'm going to push the question with a Zoom first effort in blocks of time might be more, it could be in the person a bit, but maybe more efficient than going the mirror routine first, now that we have an option in life? Or is it, again, tradition? Or is it technology that is an issue here in terms of what might be good or not?
Well, the good thing I like about Zoom, and I was saying this to people, and I'm happy for them. Many people, because of necessity, had to come on and start presenting on Zoom. They needed to keep visibility. They used to go to network events. They used to go places. But now they had to go on and actually present themselves, and people really adapted and got pretty comfortable doing the Zoom thing. I mean, even the most introverts of people are okay with it. I think there's a big difference between coming on a Zoom. You feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm in a room by myself, so it's not like I feel the energy of the audience. But I was just thinking about what you were saying. You know, what you put out, you get back. So when you think of it from an audience point of view, what do you want your audience to do? So if you want your audience to behave or act in a certain way, what you put out, you get back. So decide what you want to put out. If you want to be friendly and funny or smiling or easygoing, that's what you want your audience to be. That's what you want them to be. So everybody takes a different approach of where they want the energy level of their audience to be. And it's up to you to get the audience or the participants on a Zoom call to that level where they're locked in for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. People are doing Zoom calls all the time now. Now more than ever, you have to be engaging somehow, some way. And we were talking earlier, two things that we always think about, the message and the messenger. So I always suggest to work on the messenger first. Once you get the messenger down, the person who's doing the public speaking, right? Once you get that down and you no longer have to think about how do I present, then you can move on to being the messenger and writing the message out. So what you're saying is trying to do both at the same time will throw you off, but I would focus on becoming a better messenger, speaker, and then later on you can adapt and start to do a better message. But the most important thing is to become better at speaking. then the message will come in.
Okay, so but the question that comes to mind, I get what you're saying,
Right.
actually. Duh.
Wow, look at
And
that. I
so,
must have been doing good.
well, I won't go that far with it quite yet.
Yeah, it's true.
So when I'm rehearsing on the messenger,
Right.
do I say do I worry then about memorizing my speech, or do I say things like "any, mini, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his
Oh
toe"?
no, you might as well write out your speech or write out the bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite thing is I always remind everybody, we're not really looking to memorize our speech. We're looking to save it to memory.
Mm.
And the difference being is when you memorize it and then you start to deliver it, it sounds memorized. So much better to just keep your talking points in your memory
Mm-hmm.
and hit each talking point and just discuss what you want to discuss on each talking point. So much better than memorizing a speech. Most people go out and when they memorize a speech or they're at a podium and they have it in front of them and it looks and sounds like they're reading something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you want to just be much more freer and lighter than that. You want to come across as a human being. This is how I feel. This is what I want to tell you today,
Right.
and let it out. Now that takes practice.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, does one ever get to the point they feel they've made their practice a max out or epitome, or is it always practice more and more?
Well, the best part about being a presenter or being someone in front of an audience who does it on a regular basis, each time you get out, you're improving, you're noticing something, you're changing something, right? It changes that's the greatest part about being a speaker, and why I believe most people enjoy being a speaker of some sort is each time it's a different situation, it's a different environment. It's really cool. You have to adapt to everything going on around you. So once you become a professional speaker, that's where you get to the level of you can adapt to any situation. So that comes with experience. Experience will take care of everything, but you have to start somewhere. You have to make a decision that you want to be better at public speaking. Once you make that decision, you meet the right people who can help you. You move together to being a better public speaker.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. In terms of what you've had to say, it kind of rounds out our 15 minutes. Again, for those who are seeing us for the first time or in the replay time, either way, leave a comment, please. Share us with your friends. And if you want to know more about what Tommy has to offer or I have to offer, please check the byline, you might say, in the various links to learn about who we are and how to contact us. Thank you, Tommy, for your comments. We've hit past our reaching our environment.
It was a good morning. Plenty of coffee.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.